Fiji, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela. Far too many buyers and sellers hire the very first real estate agent they contact. Okay, let's face it, buying or selling a house is probably the biggest financial transaction you'll ever make. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake. That's a lot of money, and because buying or selling a house is so complicated and expensive, having a good real estate agent in your corner is a must. During the recent Real Estate Licensing Agents Board and Consumer Council roadshows held around the country, a number of new and current issues were brought to light. And here to discuss more with us, my guest today is the chairman of the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board, Dr. Abdul Hassan, as well as the Consumer Council manager of Campaigns, Information and Media, Tevita Vuimbao. A warm welcome to the both of you to Speak Your Mind.
Thank you very much, Louise.
Great. Okay. We won't waste any time. Now, what was the purpose of the roadshows?
Okay. Well, you know that real estate activities been taken all over the country, and we have a number of people who are selling their properties in remote areas such as Taveuni, Sabu, Lambasa, and other areas in Western Division and Central as well. So what we're actually doing, we have decided to have a joint effort, REALB and the Consumer Council, so that we can go out in the field at the grassroots level and educate the people what is all this real estate act is about, how their interests, particularly the sellers of property, are protected, as well as the buyers. So we try to bring about awareness to the public regarding the real estate matters and the law that is governing the activities of real estate in Fiji.
That's great. Just before we move on with the roadshow again, so when was REALB first established?
Okay, REALB, as you know, prior to establishment of the Act or formulation of the Act, people used to sell properties individually. Maybe a family members, they have their own small agents where they used to sell properties. But as the time went, the government thought that there is a need to protect the interests of the various people who are involved in the real estate sector. Having that in mind, the law or the act was formulated in 2006.
I see.
So there it was well structured, where people are their activities or their works has been specified in the act. You know, and in that process, the agents were registered under the act, where they have the license issued by the real estate board, and the salesperson as well as the branch managers.
Okay, yeah. So in the past, there never used to be that many real estate agents, if I recall rightly. Maybe in the 80s or 90s. Yeah. What about now? Do we have a lot of real estate agents?
At the moment, we have close to 90 real estate agents.
90?
Yes.
Oh, that's quite a
Plus
lot now.
The sales agents, which are who are working for the real estate agents, about 250 plus. So they're quite a big number.
It is a very big number now. Yeah. Okay, Tevita, so the Consumer Council, you went along, of course, so you worked together, not went along, with REALB. So what was your role in the roadshows?
Sure, thank you, Louise. So our role at the roadshows was to also just support the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board and to also conduct our own awareness for issues that consumers might face when they're in the real estate market. We receive complaints regarding real estate agents as well as landlord and tenancy issues a lot at the council. So this was our chance to really get out there again to the remote areas like Dr. Abdul mentioned. We visited Taveuni, Savu and Lambasa 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Last week, I believe they were in the west in Lautoka, Nandi and Singatoka. And it was very successful. We are very grateful to REALB for inviting us along. We saw a lot of we were able to engage with a lot of consumers over this time, and it was very, very useful for us.
Yes, I mean, it probably feels so good when you're educating people about their rights and, you know, how to avoid wasting or, you know, getting their money taken from them. But I know there was quite a good response. So what are some of the major issues that were brought up by the people?
Well, major issues that we have received the complaint from the agents, from the people, the public, was that they've never been explained properly when they are ready to sell their properties, and what rights they have in terms of protecting their interests when they sell, in terms of the commission, how much the commission should be charged. So there are a number of issues that came up.
Okay.
From the public here.
That's interesting. When you say commission,
Yeah.
is there a standard rate of a commission that a real estate agent is supposed to, you know, take?
Unfortunately, at the moment, it is not regulated.
Oh, I
It
see.
doesn't show in the act.
Okay.
But it does say that there should be a reasonable commission charge.
Oh.
See, what happened in some cases, we have been notified about this. If a owner is selling a property for, say, $250,000, that is got in his mind to sell a property at that price.
Yep.
What happened? And he tells the agent that if you get anything more above that, it's yours. So what happened? Agent will try and sell that property, say, for $250,000 or $300,000. So whatever excess money.
Oh, this would be a
that is
huge
collected,
amount.
Yeah, so that's how many agents used to do.
Okay.
Yeah, they collect a substantial sum in addition to what the owner wants for his property.
All right. Okay, so during the roadshow, the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board gathered information, as well as Consumer Council, about more bogus agents arising in the market. Now, I know that this has been highlighted in the news. What is REALB going to do about this information that you received while you were on the roadshow? And what kinds of information did you receive?
Yeah, this is a very serious issue for us, REALB. This problem has been there from last 4 or 5 years, and we have been able to identify almost 20 bogus agents in the country, and we have given this matter to the police department to investigate and prosecute those people who are working or operating illegally.
Okay, 20, that's a big number, but we'll be back shortly on Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Lovely to have your company. I hope you're enjoying our live radio talkback show. And our guest, of course, the chairman of the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board, Dr. Abdul Hassan, and also the Consumer Council Manager for Campaigns, Information and Media, Tevita Vuimbao. Now, we will carry on from where we left off about the 20 bogus agents. But, Tevita, there's something that you'd like to talk about of the complaints that were brought up to the Consumer Council?
Sure, definitely. So during the course of the our roadshow in both Tavioni and in the Northern Division and in the Western Division, we had consumers bringing a lot of their issues as well to our council offices. Some of these were regarding mainly regarding landlord and tenancy issues.
Okay.
We have had complaints about landlords not issuing the tenancy agreement and not giving receipts to consumers when they pay the bond and pay their rent. This is, of course, a very serious issue for us. Receipts are mandatory under the FCCC Act, and the landlord and tenancy agreements are also very important because they set out the conditions for the tenancy. So, they'll set out the amount of rent you have to pay, when the rent is due, who is responsible if any damages should occur in the house. They'll also set out the amount of bond that is payable, and the minor things, other things like the who pays the electricity bills, whether they're included, whether they're not, as well as other things to guard the overall tenancy of the home.
Yes, that's so true. Now, what happens if a landlord is not doing it, what can the tenant do as his or her right?
Right, sure. So for the Consumer Council, we ask them to please lodge a complaint with us if you're not getting your landlord and tenancy agreement from your landlord, or if they are not issuing receipts. Just for consumers' information, the tenancy agreement is available online. There's a template that you can use. You can download it. You can go to the Consumer Council of Fiji website, or just simply search Google landlord and tenancy Fiji agreement, and it will come up. And you can use that as a template for your landlord and tenancy agreement. But in the case, if you do come across a case where your landlord is not being forthcoming with these documents, please come to the Consumer Council or even engage the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board. They will be able to assist.
Yes, I mean they sometimes get a bit scared. They want a roof over their head. So that's the kind of attitude that we have here. If I'm going to say anything, then how am I going to live? And then they just don't bother doing anything. But it was an interesting point last time when you said to pay stamp duty as well. That was a very useful piece of information for the consumer, just being able to track, landlords not raising their rent whenever they want to.
Right, yes.
Right.
There's a problem now. People don't understand that the rent has been freezed for all the residential properties. And the landlord cannot increase rental for what the people have been paying in the past. And unfortunately, due to the lack of knowledge by the tenants,
that's it.
The landlord will take advantage of, and try and increase the rental perhaps every year or so.
Exactly. I mean, because the great point that was brought up last time with Tevita was you pay your stamp duty. It's only $15, and then this is the way you can curb landlords from actually, raising the rent, and you have a track record that they are, raising their rents. There's evidence there. So that's the best thing to do, I reckon. Yeah, okay. So just on the bogus agents again, you found out that you had 20 who and
maybe more by now.
Oh yeah, well that's what through the road show.
Yes.
So I mean, geez, 20 of them bogus. So can you explain as an example what they had done, the bogus agents?
To be an agent, it goes through the process of registering them as real estate agents, and the real estate licensing board will issue them with a certificate and ID card to all the agents plus the salespersons and of course the branch managers. In case of the bogus agent, they do not have that sort of arrangement with the board.
Okay.
So the first thing that any property buyer or seller should do is to ask for the ID card for the agents, whether they have been registered. And if they have any problem in terms of knowing anything that not clear to them, they can always contact the REALB office to find out whether this person with whom I am dealing to sell my property or buy a property has been registered as an agent. Now, this is one. The other thing is that they don't have any office. Definitely a bogus agent wouldn't like to have an office.
Okay, right.
Because that can be easily identified by the REALB board with our compliance team. And of course, they will be hesitant to provide more information, and they will try and not provide the full details of their activities. And of course, they will try and be, as you know, people get a bit apprehended when we ask a question for which they are not ready. So if you do see any bogus agents contacting you, discussing the issues on real estate, you could easily identify that this is not a right person to deal with.
I mean, like we said earlier, it's a lot of money that you're dealing with. So you should be really careful. Don't trust anyone very quickly and follow the guidelines that you're giving as well. I mean, what's hard? Just picking up the phone and calling you up, Dr. Hassan, and asking, is this agent, real?
Sure. Definitely. So I think, Dr. Hassan, there's also a list of all the registered agents that REALB provides.
Yes, we do have a proper list, and we release that information to the public, to the media.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, this is also available, I believe, via the website. We've had a look at it before, and just we direct all our consumers there who contact us if they are, in the market to purchase a property and they want to know about their rights. The first thing you can do is look for a licensed real estate agent, because really the unlicensed agents, they pose risks to vulnerable consumers. As you mentioned, there's so much money involved, and sometimes they may not these consumers may not necessarily have the knowledge
That's
about
the
how
thing,
the
yes.
how the real estate agents
Main
works.
thing, yeah.
And, and in many cases, we found that they'll sometimes lose money because of these unlicensed real estate agents, which is, and in these cases, it's not small sums of money. It's really large sums of money because of the nature of property we are buying.
Exactly. Not only that, I mean, imagine the stress and the trauma that they have to go through, losing all that money that they worked hard for,
Yes.
and someone just comes along and takes it away from them. It's terrible.
It's unfortunate that once you are engaging a bogus agent, paying some deposit upfront, you won't be able to recover. And
Right.
the REALB cannot help those people, those owners of the property or the buyers of properties.
Yeah.
They don't have the powers, to deal with those people. If the agent is collected money upfront, and then you can have means to legally to try and recover the money and return it to the owners.
Yes.
So there's a big risk in dealing with bogus agents.
Yes, thank you. On Speak Your Mind, we'll be back in a moment. I'm Louise Kaunisela on Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Lovely to have your sweet company. This is a live radio talkback show. If you have a question or an opinion that you'd like to share with us very quickly, you can call 3220906, or if you have a question, 7732906. Our guest, the chairman of the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board, Dr. Abdul Hassan, and the Consumer Council Manager of Campaigns Information and Media, Tevita Vuimbao. So yes, we've covered about bogus agents. The main thing here is don't be so trusting, be very careful. Just call Dr. Hassan at REALB. But under the Act Section 60, subsection 2, legal practitioners cannot obtain a license to be a real estate agent. So therefore, he cannot operate as a real estate agent. Why?
Now, that is how the act has been made, where the lawyers cannot operate as an agents. Unfortunately, despite knowing that the laws, which is governing real estate sector, they still continue. Some of the lawyers still continue to collect commission from the property sellers.
So how do they? I mean, whoever
Well, what they normally do, they handle the estate matters. And
Okay,
the
yes,
beneficiaries who may be living abroad and they are very anxious to sell their properties, and lawyers knowing that, they collect the, of course they charge the legal fee, which is okay, but in addition to that, they charge the commission as well on selling properties, which is illegal.
It is
They should
illegal.
not do, yeah. As soon as a commission comes in real estate dealing, then it's they're violating the act. And also we have been informed through our roadshow in Western Division that some of the bank officers, when they process the loans, they collect commission from the agents. So they collude with the agents, and in the process they collect the commission. The third group of people that are also involved, and we still treat them as a bogus agent, are the insurance agents who move around selling policies to people, and they also collect or involved in selling and buying property. So
See, that's not allowed because it only comes under REALB, where you issue the proper license. You just cannot be, selling properties how you want. So if they're caught doing this, can they be taken to task?
Oh yes, definitely they would be. Yeah.
Okay, but they seem to be getting away with it. Are they doing it?
So far they've been getting away with that. But in the last roadshow, we have clearly been identified, or the people have come up with this complaint that these are the type of people they are involved in real estate without having a proper license.
Yes, Tevita, would you like to add on to what Dr. Hassan is saying?
Indeed, Dr. Hassan, he's raised quite a few pertinent issues. The council itself, we've seen a lot of issues from our end, and we've identified some of them. Even the REALB has already spoken on. Some of the tactics that real estate agents might use. They force individuals into making hasty decisions. We call it pressure selling. So, typically a real estate agent will say that, there are multiple buyers inquiring about a property. And, they'll say, oh, well, you need to get this property now because, there's so much interest in it. It's a good deal. So, this gives the impression that property is in high demand. And if you don't buy it now, you'll miss out on the chance, to buy the home of your dreams or buy the investment property that you would really want. Unfortunately, this may not actually be the case. The property may not actually be in high demand. So we've even recorded instances where real estate agents will sometimes tell consumers that a foreign national is ready to pay a high price for the property, and if you do not make the decision soon, the property will be lost. So it's really difficult for consumers to navigate this kind of behavior.
Right. And that's what you said. They make hasty decisions, and it might be a very bad one too.
Yes, indeed. And we also understand that there are some unscrupulous agents or even unlicensed agents who will like Dr. Hassan said, they'll deliberately manipulate the property prices by using these pressure selling tactics and other gimmicks so that they can get a higher commission for themselves.
It's all about the money, how much they can put in their own pocket. They don't care about the consumer.
And so the council is really committed to working with REALB to address, these issues.
This is great, and I'm really happy to have you two on the show, so at least, people can be aware and learn. Because, Dr. Hassan, you also brought up, how the main point is people not educated, and they don't know their rights, and that's why they're getting into problems with their properties.
If you look at the real estate sector, large amount of money by all people are invested in real estate. Even if you look at broadly on the whole country, a large proportion of the money of the people are tied up with the real estate. And if you're looking at that from that perspective, you can see that people, they earn a lot of money. Whatever they earn, they struggle, they collect the money to buy a home.
True.
And suddenly someone comes.
It's just heartless.
And start, manipulating you, and convincing you to. So that is, I think, it's not proper.
No, it's not proper at all. And this is so great that you've been having the road shows, trying your best to educate people on not being, tricked into selling their properties at maybe a much lower prices. And for the bogus agents, they just take all the money.
Yes.
And now no property, nothing done.
Nothing.
Ooh, terrible indeed. Yes, Tevita. So it was highlighted in the media that the agents would have to sit for a test before they are given the license to operate. So maybe you would like to tell us how that works.
Definitely, I am very much concerned. And of course, we cannot do much at the moment because that's how the law has been made in 2006. But over the years, a lot of changes have been done. And now is the time that we should prepare some sort of, put some exams for agents who understand the law, and they have the code of ethics, and all these things can be incorporated so that they understand when they deal with the clients. At the moment, the law says that if a salesperson who has been there for 3 years working under a real estate agent, he or she can become a agent, despite that he or she may be a taxi driver or sweeping street.
Yeah.
But because been there for 3 years as a salesperson, they've been they are what you call qualifying to become an agent.
Okay.
So this is a concern to us, and we're trying to put in some sort of exams that we have to go through.
Yes.
And upgrade the standard of agents that we have in the country.
Very true.
Yes.
On Speak Your Mind, this is Gold FM, only the classic hits, your only classic hits station in the country. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Our guest in the studio today, Dr. Hassan, who is the chairman of the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board, and the Consumer Council Manager of Campaigns, Information and Media, Tevita Voimbao. Now, it was interesting that you brought up that you would like to see more qualified real estate agents. So you would like them, just to sit a test. And how do you plan to prepare what, questions they have to ask to be a proper real estate agent?
Okay, they have to go through a course. Probably we have 4 or 5 papers dealing with different aspects of the real estate. And then following that, they'll have to sit for the exams.
Yes.
We are trying to contact various agencies who are prepared to offer these courses. We have talked to FNU and some overseas courses which can be offered online. And of course, we can have in-house. So at the moment, we are looking at different options, keeping in mind the cost of offering those courses to the salespersons and agents.
So what kind of skill sets would you be looking for someone to become a real estate agent?
Well, at least they should have a minimum qualification of, say, go up to Form 7.
Okay.
And thereon, once they appear for those papers, then of course they'll have the knowledge, much better knowledge than what we have at the moment on some of the salesperson they're engaged in the real estate industry.
Okay. So how much does it cost to actually open a real estate agent, to get the license?
License is roughly about $1,000.
That's not much.
It's not much, yeah. Comparatively, what is the expenses that we have, it's not much now at the moment here.
Yes. Now, Dr. Hassan, how do you find an agent that best suits you? Can you give us some tips on how to choose the right real estate agent? Because we have 90 now, you've said.
Yes, yes, if you look at the list of agents that you have, of course, they have the mixture one who have come up with the very limited knowledge on real estate issues. And they, because of the provision of the Act, they have been given license to operate. Others who are well educated and they have gone through the process of getting the right education on real estate issues. And those are the ones that we always look forward to discuss with them the issues that we are facing at the moment and deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, this real estate agent thing, it really is a lucrative market for, people who want, especially the bogus ones.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness me, it's even they're even from overseas, am I right?
Yes.
People from overseas
Yes,
coming
they
to
do.
Fiji and tricking people to here?
Yeah, they do come here. Some of them do come and try and sell properties locally. Yes.
Must be like millions of dollars.
Yes, they're mostly the big islands, they're on sale and all those.
Some people, they're just professional
yeah,
at doing a con job. That's the problem. Okay, so what are the loopholes of the Act, this is REALB, for the members of the public?
At the moment, we do not have really powers given to us to enter the property. And if there is some people who are violating the Act, we do not have the powers to prosecute them. And we have to go through a very long process. If I can mention this, there are about, as I've said earlier, the 20 bogus agents which have been identified and report the matter to the CID department. And until now, we are not getting much progress on those cases.
So that's the evidence.
Yeah, that's evidence that it takes. I know it takes a long process for police department to follow all the procedures. But looking at the other side, those people have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And
they know how to cover their tracks.
Yes. And REALB doesn't have the power under the Act to prosecute them or to bring them to justice or to the court. Yeah, this is a real problem.
It's a job for the police. Is that right, Tevita?
Yes, I believe the police are the main
yes, they are the
body
one
that the REALB engages.
They are very cooperative, but the process is such, as you know.
Okay, but so for the complainant, in what type of evidence? How can they give their money away without any receipt or anything like that?
It's education. People doesn't understand.
Okay.
That what is the implication or the consequences of doing with such people who are not registered agents. Yeah.
Okay, so you do carry out spot checks as well. So this is will be the enforcement part of REALB.
Yeah, we
How do you do that?
Introduce that now.
Oh, okay.
To ensure that the agents, they are active in dealing with the property dealings. So that's why we have introduced the spot checking, so that we know whether they are in their office or they are doing some other activities, and also being a real estate agent. So that's why we are doing that, and I think it's working out very well in terms of ensuring that the agents are really fully engaged in dealing with the real estate issues.
Okay, so which areas during the roadshow had the most complaints?
Well, we had in all the areas. Actually.
All the areas,
all the
okay.
centers that we're going to, people came up and they discussed with us. And unfortunately, some cases we have identified that the agent, as I have said earlier, they do not have that much of education.
Right.
And as they deal with the clients, with the property buyers and sellers. One case I was told in Nandi, a property owner has engaged an agent to sell his property, and that property was not subdivided, and it's from a big tract of land, where a certain section was allocated to her from the estate, and that land was not been put into a separate title, and the agent could not explain to her how to go about doing that, because the reason being the agent do not have that knowledge.
See?
What process that she has to follow in terms of getting a scheme plan done, going through the local authority and putting up to town and country planning.
Right.
So she is stuck. She is stuck at that stage because the agent doesn't have that knowledge to explain to her what to be done.
So that's why you want to have, them sit a proper test, have a, proper qualification because of things like this.
Yes.
Okay. All right then. So what other issues did you find during the road shows that really got to you?
The other thing that when the agents, they advertise the properties, they do not disclose the full detail of properties. For instance, if a leasehold property is involved, say native land or estate land,
yes.
Now that leasehold property would have a number of years of lease, unexpired term. It could be for 5 years, it could be for 50 years.
Okay.
So that should be explained to the buyer.
Okay.
What is the term of the lease?
That's very important.
Yes, definitely. Whether that lease will be renewed for another 99 years, or there is some other scheme by the landlord to remove that land from leasing out.
Yes.
And the other thing that is very interesting, which unfortunately we do not have in our law, a disclosure, where the seller of the property should disclose regarding property. Maybe some stigma attached to the property, such as someone died in the property, someone committed suicide, or
Yeah, they should do that, but I'm sure they wouldn't want to reveal that, otherwise they won't sell the property.
No,
Okay, on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Our guest in the studio, we have from REALB, Dr. Hassan, and from the Consumer Council, Tevita. So now, Tevita, we need to find out about the Consumer Council's Green Action Fund Project 2019. Could you give us an update on this, please?
Sure, Vinaka Louise. So the council is currently in the midst of conducting its Green Action Fund 2019 project. This project is being conducted in the province of Serua. It's really aimed at decreasing the number of plastic bags used by some of our partner communities within the province of Serua. So far we have visited the village of Ngalwa, the village of Soniveuto, and we will be looking at visiting 2 more villages in this month.
Okay.
So just a little bit about the Green Action Fund, or as we are calling it at the council, the GAF. It's a collaborative project which is funded by Consumers International, which is the parent consumer body, and the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation, with the ultimate aim to promote sustainable consumption. So as part of this project, we are just creating awareness on the harmful effects of plastics on marine ecosystems And we're also creating a platform for our communities to share their existing knowledge on using traditional methods such as weaving and sewing,
Right.
to prepare baskets and bags that are reusable, that they can use in place of plastic bags, which is
Okay.
very important.
Very important.
So we've actually gone into the communities, and we've engaged our resource personnel actually from the communities. So it's really another aim of the project is to share the knowledge that is already present within the communities. We feel that this is very important, that it's one way that we can promote sustainable consumption through the use of traditional knowledge. Yeah, so through this knowledge, we're asking them to come up with reusable alternatives to plastic bags. So we ask them to bring in old clothes, or even to weave the baskets. The resource personnel they're teaching them. So these are all just ways that we can reduce the amount of single-use plastic bags that are released into the environment each year. And so we've had a lot of good participation from the communities. In Ngalwa, we had the chance to conduct a workshop last week with about 87 people. Apologies, 2 weeks ago with about 87 people.
Oh, that's a lot. Ngalwa, just past Pacific Harbour.
Just out past Pacific Harbour.
Okay.
And we also, there's another village called Sonviuto. We in the province of Cerro as well.
That's great.
And we are conducting, we actually did the workshop with them last week. And again, we had a good turnout. There was a lot of participation from the communities. So I'd just like to talk a bit about, why the council thought that this was something that, we would like to involve ourselves in.
Yes.
So, normally we talk about, the prices of goods and services and, holding traders and service providers to account. But we also recognize that each individual consumer has a responsibility to the environment. This is one of the responsibilities that we talk about when we go out to do our awareness programs.
Yes.
So it's, you just have to be mindful of the impact that your consumption has on the environment. And that's why we want to talk about reducing the number of single-use plastic bags in the environment.
Yeah, so you had to go to these villages, and how were they? Were they aware of the impact of using plastics and then getting into the ocean? Were they quite aware, or not really?
Some were reasonably aware, some were not. But that's the point of the program,
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
to get out there and to speak with them, to educate them. So we're just giving them all the information about the coral reefs, that we have. Fiji has, an estimated 1,000 coral reefs. This is very extensive, high diversity of marine organisms.
Yes.
And approximately, a large number of Fiji's population, they live on the coast, and they use the sea as a source of food.
Right.
source of
So
income.
you try to explain to them, if this plastic goes in the sea, what happens?
Definitely.
So what happens?
So plastics they take years to break down, to biodegrade. They can be mistaken for food by marine organisms, and they will end up ingesting these plastics, and these plastics will end up in the food chain, which in the long run is harmful to consumers.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in 2010, we used, I believe, approximately 70 million plastic bags, many of which would have ended up in waterways and seas. And the impacts are already well documented internationally, as well as well documented internationally. So this can have potentially disastrous consequences for Fiji. Because of our heavy reliance on the marine environment for food and for income.
Yeah, because we're so used to using plastics from the past. I mean, we've been using them since time began, well, almost. But yes, you just need to change your habit, be aware that we need to keep our planet, providing for our future generations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about using the Torni Koro in his village? Because I believe they oversee the activities in the village.
Yes.
And that may be one way of having more effective way of controlling the use of plastic.
Yes, that's a
Yes,
good
yes.
idea, yes.
Yeah, that's very true. So, as part of this program, we heavily engage the Torang Koro of each village and with the individual village chiefs. Just because it's important to get leadership showing the direction that they wish the villages to follow.
And another thing is making a good business out of sewing the bag.
That's also one of it.
I think, I mean, a lot of people could be making a good amount of money by just sewing these bags.
Definitely. This is so the council's this is a Green Action Fund project. It also is in line, with the government's initiatives to reduce the number of single plastic bag use. We all understand that the government will phase out the high-density polyethylene plastic bags from 2020 in line with the 5-year national, 5-year and 20-year national development plans.
Okay, so it's going to be like totally banned.
Yes, totally banned. So the reusable plastic bags, reusable bags will be one of the main ways, will be one of the main alternatives for consumers from that time. And the reduction of plastic bags, it also helps these communities to align themselves with the sustainable development goals.
Right.
So we're thinking locally, but there's also a global aspect to the work that we're doing.
They just feel good if you
Yes.
put your cloth bag in, your other handbag and use it. I mean, it's good. You save money too.
Indeed.
I
We
mean,
have
you
the
pay.
resources, we can use that.
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's very important for us, just as Dr. Hassan said, the resources are all local. So the resource personnel is local. The materials that we get are local. We managed to get offcuts from garment factories here
There
in
you
Suva
go.
who've been willing to help us. And we're very thankful for that. And we've been using these two sew bags. You can have a look at the photos on our Facebook.
Okay, Facebook page, Consumer Council.
Consumer
And
Council of Fiji.
I believe REALB is on Facebook as well.
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, be educated. That's very important. And know your rights. And, well, unfortunately, we've come to an end to the program. Speak Your Mind. Thank you so much for your company. The chairman of the Real Estate Agents Licensing Board, Dr. Abdul Hassan, and the Consumer Council Manager of Campaigns, Information and Media, Tevita Vinakavaka Level.
Thank you very much, Louise.
And from me, Louise Kaunisela, thank you a lot for your company. Until next week, you take care. Nisamo Demanda.